Scott Stevens recently left Union, and he'll be riding 32's new phase bindings. Thought it would be an interesting discussion. Really close friends with Scott. He rode for Union for 19 years. Obviously, a huge part of the brand. Probably, a bit of a devastating loss for Union. However, Scott's my guy, so I love to see that other brands are placing him at a really high value, and I love to see. I've been talking to him; he's been loving the bindings, and yeah, it's just one of those situations. Got an offer, one brand can choose to match or not match, and ultimately went with 32, and he's been raving about him. So, do you guys have any thoughts on that? Any tee-offs? Otherwise, we can just get into product talk about bindings.
I got two things on that.
Yep.
A, I'm a huge Scott Stevens fan.
Yeah.
The guy is he's whatever. Not many people get I think legend gets thrown out way too easily these days, but he's there. He's
Absolutely
forged his own craft. And the guy is seriously technically talented. And then the other thing I got was actually heard through the grapevine that 32 actually got busted hacking into.
Oh, you told you about that?
What?
Yeah, there was a fully busted
espionage here.
Yeah, for hacking into some
Are you talking about
Google Drive account.
Scott's scenario, or actually did that actually
No,
happen?
actually.
Oh, it really happened.
Yeah, not just with Scott.
Oh, I thought you were being
Wow,
sarcastic.
for some technology.
I think that's what they're digging for.
Whew.
Yeah, it's a little
Cutthroat
spy
out there in the
situation.
binding
Spy
world these
situation.
days.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, respect to Scotty Steves, dude. He's carving out his lane.
Oh,
and I don't. As far as the Union versus the phase or any of the new system stuff. So, you want to talk about next?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a great kind of blanket topic of bindings.
Binders.
Yeah.
I went to a vintage board show last night, and they had the first clickers, and it just I was thinking about this ahead of time because, when the clickers, for those that don't know, it's like a step-on scenario where your boot just stepped right into this plate. And it was yeah, this is the future. This is going to be so sick. Everybody's going to be doing it. And it was a phase, if you will. No pun intended. And now you see the technology of, you need the high back. You need that support. You need the base plate and stuff. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. It's cool to see stuff kind of getting simplified for people. My little brother used it at DC as a product manager, and he liked it. And, he was like, hey, it was killer because I was getting my foot in and out for the kids and stuff, but for me personally, reaching down and strapping the straps, not an issue. But the phase system does seem kind of interesting, and the fact how you kind of step through. I think it's kind of half stepping. That's what I'm going to say.
It's a half-step system.
Because you step on, you're stepping off, you step in, step whatever. Everything's it's a buzzword. I'm going to go with half stepping.
Yep.
I haven't used it yet. You used it? You seen that stuff?
No, I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. I mean, it's really cool to see look 20 years ago at where bindings were, and then look 20 years prior to that. It's a difficult, I would say bindings are probably one of the more difficult elements to snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
All the pieces, incredibly complicated. Got to be the right flex, and then not to mention a lot of proprietary components, getting around a lot of Burton components, Union component. There's these legacy binding brands that if you're making a binding, you got to skirt around all these other IP elements.
Yeah.
But phase looks interesting, and there's so many different ways to ride too. A lot of different bindings have a great use case to, whether it's phase making it easy. It's a little interesting because with say the step on, which now both Burton and Union licensed step on for Burton, and there's a use case. There's legitimate people that are just cruising resorts, and it hurts to bend over, or it's difficult to deal with the straps, and that's a real thing. I think with both the phase and the step on, for me personally, I've spent so many years trying to take as much material off the heel cup as possible, because in POW, soft snow, you want a minimal, imprint when you're on your heel edge in soft snow. And so when you get that built up, heel cup that and is inevitable with both of those systems, for me, it's a little jaggy, but it's got a great use case. I've heard people actually say a lot of nice things about it.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting in the sense that you look at a snowboard, it's like been relatively the same for freaking 40 years or however long, right? It's for the most part, the technology is the same. But I do think it's really cool to see in the one aspect of product that's being really, it's like really progressive, and all these brands are coming out. Like I just made a quick list just to kind of like, you have Burton Step-On, you have Union Step-On. Nidaker makes this Supermatic, which is kind of a step-in system. You have a Flow step-in system. Solomon has a Shadow Fit, which is like a soft heel cup that wraps around your back, your heel. So it's kind of a softer feel. You got K2's back with the clickers. You got Clue, which is this crazy
I've seen
heel
Clues,
cup still.
yeah.
I don't know about that one, but it's, and then you got just OG ratchets. And just thinking about, some people they want to get off the chairlift. Maybe their partner skis, their friend skis. They want to click in. They want to go down the hill. They got great options. For me, I always need one more click. Before we drop into those jumps, I don't think I'm so ingrained on one more click.
Right.
Like before I do anything, I need to just get that extra sense of security. It's like a nervous tick, where I think I'll always be ratchets. They work great for me, but I don't know. It's just interesting where we're at in snowboarding with this crazy binding push right now.
I'm with Travis. I think there's definitely a consumer for all of that stuff, for step through, step off, step up, half step, and whatever it is. Do your steps, get your dance moves on into your bindings in and out. That's sick. But for us guys that want camber under our feet and, want to get that extra click and drop in and do our thing, I think there's more innovation that could happen within the boot integration into the binding, just as the normal boot style, right? I did see one thing I saw with the Union boot is they have kind of this, and I don't know if that's public knowledge yet, but Union is launching boots next season.
Yes, Travis, you're gonna ride them, right?
I've spent almost 3 years on the
Oh,
program.
no shit.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But and I just saw it at a trade show. So I was pretty intrigued by it because to me it looks like the thought processing of how the kind of the lower part of your boot flexes with your base plate and your the integration in the heel cup. That to me is the biggest point of what could be innovated within the snowboard boots. And it's always been about lock down your ankle and you got the pull on the inside and the power strap and all these things. But looking at the geometry of how the boot flexes and how it integrates to the actual base plate and then of course the straps and stuff. But that was piquing my interest just staring at it. That's cool you're riding for them. That's dope.
Yeah, it's been ever since DC cut me. No, it's been a assertive process. Spent a lot of time in Italy, and with the Union team. Everything we've done with Falcor bindings, but the boot's been a big one, and the fact that this is a completely re-engineered way to manufacture a boot, and a lot of consideration went into, how do you build a platform that can service relatively easily this myriad of use cases? Because there's people that want stiff as shit. They're just looking to, put trench in on the early groom, and then you have Scott Stevens, and then, and there's this whole myriad of people need different things from different boots. And so the way that these new boots are manufactured, there's a lot of easily variable ways to play with stiffness and flex patterns. And my favorite component of it is, when a boot line puts out their range, right? Say size 5 to size 13. In your classic, stitched and glued boot, right? You kind of aim flex point wise for 9, and then the bigger boots get a little softer, the smaller boots get a little stiffer. And with the way that this boot's manufactured, you can actually just slightly alter the chemical composition and the hardening within the shell. And you can start to nail this, the sizes themselves are crafted for the flex pattern that they should be. So you don't have to compromise into these like, smaller kids and women's size to size 14 hooves.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more weight. Somebody that's a size 14 is going to be putting a lot more wrenching on a size 6. That makes sense. I never thought about that before.
You said something earlier, like snowboards haven't really changed that much in the last 40 years. But now as we're talking about boots, I'm thinking about snowboards 30 years ago. Burton designed off a size 9 foot with a single radius side cut. So they all had these narrow waist widths, 24 9s or whatever. And now, then we went through this evolution of, wider boards, deeper side cuts, multi-radius side cuts, camber profiles, all these things to kind of flush out, how the snowboard should be. And then, carbon fiber, all this. Feels to me like we're now getting to the precipice on the boot bindings, like we did with all the wacky cambers, where it's like, we're going to go like up, down, sideways, all around, serrated this, whatever it is. And now, like, it sounds like the way Union's approaching it, and I'm not just zeroing in on them, but that's the most logic I've seen in a minute. That's pretty cool because it's not just a size 9. Let's build off a 9. And like, now it's like, we can like cater it more to your actual foot size.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Quick sidebar. I'm on a cambered snowboard. Today you were on a cambered snowboard. What flex pattern? Do you ride camber?
I'm camber underfoot with a slight rocker in the nose and tail. It kind of like helps release the board in and out of turns, gives you that float in the pow.
That's on the splitty or the solid?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, just interesting. Yeah, you said you hadn't been on a cambered board in a minute. Is that it?
A minute, yeah, probably since like 2004.
And why
It's been fun. Well, we
now you're on a camber.
we did this little like I have my 20th year like T-Rice Pro coming out with Lib next year,
Sick.
and we brought back like the first graphic I did with Perillo. It was my second board with Lib, and wanted to just do like a little, for them camber it's C3.
I'm aware. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've got a new camber. It's camber just presents a little differently. It's fun. I love the feel of it in hard pack conditions and park. It's nice because you get that elongated like flex, right? The entirety of the board is, flexing or awling, right? When you have rocker in between the feet, I think that you pivot quicker from edge to edge and it's less catchy, but it's like a tiny bit more impact. And with C2, the normal air rate, you have that, second knee and the camber to the tail, but it's still like a little harder impact because you got that rocker underfoot when it's like awling and landing. So it's been fun. I've just the last few days been riding camper and
Straight up.
it's great. It's definitely quite a bit changed, evolved camber. But.
Straight up. Yeah, the big nice burgundy snowboard behind me. I'm not that tech savvy, but I'm like, I'm loving this thing. I wonder what it is. Kind of like, and
Camber.
I'm like, it's fun. This is OG camber, dude. This thing's going like soft OG camber, and it's nice. But I think in POW, I'm the same as you guys too. Like the Navigator that I ride it's got some of that kick underfoot that you're talking about. Nice for a good float.
Gotta have a float.
Yeah, I mean, camber just technically in POW, I mean, the whole tail is pushing your nose under.
Yeah.
It's
It's like a upside down banana or whatever. Like it's like that's the way your board wouldn't sit flat. It would have a little. Yeah.
But it's when you land or stomp something on a camber board, it feels real good.
Oh yeah. I feel like it used to be as I'm sitting. You guys are older than I am, but it was like give me the stiffest cambered snowboard, and we're just gonna go straight at the cheese wedge and fucking chuck roast. Right? That's for years.
They were pretty stiff in the half pipe days.
I guess you rode for
sure.
Lib for so long.
Then they softened up,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I could never handle the stiff boards.
Yeah.
It was too limiting. It's like a super stiff boot where you just, what happened? I can't grab the hot plate.
Straight up. Good stuff. Yeah, and then another topic I have written down here with bindings too, like split board bindings. You got a couple different options. Obviously, I think Spark R&D has like a lot of people prefer Spark in the split board space. And then you have Karakoram, and then you have Union split board bindings. What do you ride?
I'm a Union guy. I run the Union Chargers. They're just like, if you're familiar with a normal snowboard binding, like the Union Atlas would be kind of like my daily driver or whatever. And they have kind of that same build, right? Same chassis where you've got a metal heel cup and plastic base plate. Now, like the Sparks, the Karakorums, the Volets, they're generally like all made out of metal and just have a different flex point and kind of a different feel. And I would say like a lot of the split boarders, 90%, I would say, are on Spark, Karakorum. Spark's kind of the biggest, but Karakorum, Volet, whatever. But for me, like, I want more board feel, and it's not to take away from those brands, but I just feel like I can ride my same snowboard at the mountain, feels the same in the backcountry is what I personally want. So a little more board feel.
I'm in the same ballpark all day. But I do love like Karakorum and Spark, like great companies, great people behind that. And there's a use case. Like, what are you focused on, the up or are you focused on the down? Where do you want to make your compromise?
And for the listeners that are maybe a little confused, I think that Spark, especially like Spark R&D, is like first transitioning when you get to the top, switching over your bindings from ski mode to, downhill mode, snowboard mode. It's probably the most efficient.
I mean,
No?
pretty
debatable.
much my backcountry
Debatable?
partner, Neil Provo, Sparks rider, and
Okay.
it's like we're the same speed on the transition.
I think
switchover is nominal. Yeah.
I think when Union was still pin, but now that the system's pinless.
Yeah.
But I think it's the best user experience, maybe downhill, right? That is the Unions, arguably.
If you're
just
used to
depends on your it's
needing
like-
flex for
yeah.
freestyle, if you're trying to like throw out poke out a method, if
Yep.
It's kind of like step-ons, right? Like there's a customer that likes that for a certain reason. The guy, and what I see is the more rigid binding, maybe you're more of a mountaineering style. You're more trying to ride couloirs. You're like, or just they're lighter weight slightly on the uphill, and they've just kind of supported the category since the
Yep.
beginning
Great
also.
brand.
And
Great brand.
yeah, like Will Ritter's awesome. And in Karakorum as well. Those guys are sick and Volet, of course. But yeah, again, back to I just want some flex, a little more flex, a little more. I want to do some butters and freestyle, and yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, Union's a little more helpful for the insecurities that come with not potentially getting a poke or tweak right. A lot of people don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're wailing a couloir,
And you could be on hard boots too. That's a whole other thing.
I mean, that's the
Oh,
quickest.
damn.
Yeah.
Hard boots
Like
is
this.
if you
Yeah. I have seen some come off though, like straight
Hard
up.
boots?
Well, not the boot, but the board.
So you just lose your board? It just goes down the hill?
I've seen it a couple different times on some failures.
Because there's no stopper. There's not a ski
no
stopper.
leash, bro.
Yeah, there's no leash.
you know.
I mean, if you're long legged and you're looking to get 6,000 to 8,000 of vert and you're just
Yeah.
in it to grind, like you should look at a hard boot setup, like a more randonnée setup.
Hard boots are easier on your ankles. Like the side hilling in split boarding can be. I
Can't believe you guys are making arguments for hard boots here on the show. It's fucking insane.
Dude, if you're a mountain man, you're crushing a lot of granola.
I think
Getting them hard
I think
boots.
you get a little older and you stop kind of
Yeah.
judging people's approach.
They're just out
and you
there.
more just appreciate like everyone's kind of
tool.
got a different inspiration and
Just
why they're out
another
there.
Tool.
I like it. You guys are open-minded.
I don't even hate on skiers anymore. Can you believe that? I'm
That
like
is
full
crazy.
like buy equipment, gender.
Because you guys
equality
make
over
skis.
here.
You guys make skis.
You know why
right?
we make skis?
You're a ski company.
Yes, we are. Do you know why? Because look at when I was coming up in the 90s, we saw all these like awesome snowboard brands. There was literally like hundreds of brands that went defunct because these big brands that were ski companies like, oh, snowboards, we'll start making some money on that one. They've reinvigorated our whole culture, like sick. And over time, yeah, they've contributed into the space, but they're still like skiers over here, snowboarders over here. And where I go out in the mountains, dude, I got some ski homies they're just people, man. Why can't we all just get along? You know what I mean?
It's a good take.
Yeah.